I'm really fortunate. Not only are you my friend, you're a client at the agencies.
Yes.
You are somebody that I feel gives your heart and soul online into your patients, into your community. And I think you were one of the people who also spoke out so aggressively in 2020 and got penalized for it.
For sure. There was a lot of us. I was not alone.
Yeah.
But for sure, my career has not been without controversy.
So can you tell us a little bit more about, the evolution of like seeing what you were previously teaching prior to 2020 and now what you're seeing when it comes to people's diseases or what they're reaching out to you about, or what are the conditions they're complaining about the most? Because a lot changed since 2020, right?
A lot changed. A lot. That's a great question. I would say beforehand, I was seeing a lot of autoimmunity, a lot of cancer. Now I have seen an overwhelming number of women, especially, come to me with histamine problem, mast cell activation syndrome, which is the root cause is a histamine overproduction within that too. And I cannot believe how many people, it's almost, I would say 99% of people that I see in clinic are dysregulated or have water damage in their house, which are the two biggest reasons for histamine production in the body. And it is overwhelming since COVID. Overwhelming.
And for our audience who listens to this and says, I didn't ever hear about histamine before. So can you explain to them what histamine is and what are their personal signs that they should look out for to see if they're being affected by it?
Great question. Absolutely. So histamine is this noxious substance that's produced by mast cells. Mast cells are the first defenders in the body. They kind of raise the white flag and say, hey, we're under attack. We're under attack. And then they rupture and release things like trypsin or histamine, some things that make us have different symptoms depending on what organ the histamine is released in. So if it's in the gut, people are going to feel bloated. They might have loose stools. If it's in the brain, they have anxiety. It's often related to allergies, puffiness. Histamine and estrogen bind to the same receptors, so they exacerbate one another. So a lot of women who have period flus around their period, it's actually due to overproduction of histamine. And, phlegm, nasal congestion, itchiness, rashes, eczema, all of these have histamine at the root cause.
And what's the best way for people to clear it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I don't want to put everyone in a single box because obviously some remedy can't be the magic bullet for 100% of people. But in general, like I mentioned previously, the biggest reason for histamine release is nervous system dysregulation, meaning a sympathetic overdrive, being stuck in flight or fight, not being able to breathe properly and calm down. The body sees that as a threat. It does not feel safe in the environment. And water-damaged homes or mold. That, again, is the cytokine storm released in the brain, just like COVID, that causes an allergic response for people. So for people, I really like to use herbs, things like vitamin C, which stabilize mast cell membranes, things like quercetin, bromelain, stinging nettles, and then DAO enzyme, which is an enzyme that helps break down histamine when it's out in the bloodstream. And there are some people who have a genetic predisposition where they don't make enough DAO enzyme. And whether that's probably due to the environmental factors that triggered that, but that helps so many people too. So it's a process of, I don't give a pill for every ill. So I have to kind of look and say, hey, how can we regulate your thoughts, your beliefs, your lifestyle, your diet, everything, what you're breathing, what you're drinking into your system so that it calms down and the mast cells learn not to be so hypervigilant.
Hearing you say all of this is not stuff that's taught in medical school. What was the aha moment that you had that took you away from, because you're traditionally trained MD, took you away from that and you said, I'm going to go more integrative and functional?
I was really fed up with the hospital system. And
you were a hospitalist.
Yeah, I was a hospitalist. I was kind of like it's kind of like a mast cell, the first line of defense. And I also got hypervigilant and irritated, just like a mast cell, because I saw people getting discharged on 30 medications and, eating gluten and processed meat and dairy in the hospital. And really, I have to credit social media because it was really what woke me up and showed me that there were other things that I was not taught in medical school that mattered.
Right.
And so I thought, gosh, these other doctors and the people I work for, they don't know. I should tell them. And when I did, it was not received well. So, they really told me to shut up and do my job. And so when that was their reaction to me, I realized that I wasn't going to make a difference in that system. And I had to step out and start something new to really make a difference for people.
What is one thing that you hear all the time that just gets brushed off as stress, but it's a different sort of a symptom?
Often histamine problems do. That's one of them. I would say early autoimmune symptoms do. I would say, I had this happen to me when I had a B vitamin deficiency. They told me I needed to go on SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which is a very popular antidepressant, anti-anxiety medication. And I didn't. I had a nutrient deficiency. And it made me wonder how many people out there are actually on medication for anxiety, depression, even diabetes. And the root cause is a mineral deficiency where their body can't run the processes it needs to.
It's crazy because I remember we've been friends for a while now. Your mood completely changed when you started taking in your nutrients properly. And you're like, hey, I have a vitamin B deficiency. I need to start taking in more vitamin D and actually really getting your minerals in.
That's right. Because my nervous system was so dysregulated for over 7 years of just stressors that kept piling up. I mean, we've all been there, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And I was still doing things like killing and binding and sweating and running around like a chicken with my head cut off and multitasking everywhere. And then wasn't cognizant of my electrolyte remineralization status. So how can a nervous system run properly? How can the nerves fire properly when they need potentials, meaning charges that set them off to fire? What gives charges? Minerals. And if you don't have those minerals, you can't make hormones, you can't make neurotransmitters. So I was a shell of who I normally am.
Yeah. And I see that in from like interacting with you and just knowing you so well. You're just such a happy person. And there was a time that you were just like, Iman, I cannot come up for air. I don't feel like myself. I'm having these mood swings that I can't control. Or I'm having complete emotional breakdowns and I feel so out of my body.
Yep.
We on the car ride over, I was telling you. So for example, I've had a previous histamine reaction. Obviously fixed that, but I spoke to you in the car about having a little bit of Candida right now. And so can you tell the guests over here what you told me about the Candida?
Of course. So everyone, thinks the pathogen is the root cause of the problem and you need to kill. And I would be remiss without saying that I used to be one of those people as well earlier in my career. Now I know that you have to set the stage and not everybody can handle that. And so with Candida, it obviously isn't a root cause. It's there digesting something in your body. Anytime anyone has a recurrent infection, they need to look about what's making their body hospitable to this pathogen. Why is your body not able to fight it off? Where's the imbalance? And what I see with most people is that things like Epstein-Barr virus or Candida, these pathogens live off adrenaline and cortisol within the body. If the nervous system is imbalanced, they can take an opportunity to reside in your vessel that way. Heavy metals are another reason that they might be there, including parasites too. And so really, I go back to what the root cause is not pathogens, it's the terrain. And what in the terrain attracts these pathogens? It's toxins and trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
And for somebody like me, because you've been with me for the last 24 hours, I'm on the go so much. So if there are other people listening, they're like, I'm just so busy. And that obviously can be a reason where the Candida is being able to have this hosting site. What would you recommend for me immediately? You'd be like, Iman, so you work through the heavy metals, you might have some parasites, but then you have this slightly unregulated nervous system. What would you recommend to me?
What I do in clinic is what I would recommend to you, what I do with every person that comes to see me. I don't even start any sort of like detox or killing protocol until I know that their nervous system is regulated and balanced, because I'm wasting their time and money if I do that. They are going to have to detox longer. Sometimes they won't be able to open drainage all the way and prepare for a detox. And so I end up having to detox them almost twice as long as I would have to if they were regulated in the first place. So I spend time with supplements, biohacks, almost like a therapist too sometimes, helping people get back into the right rhythm. I have some tools in my tool belt I use sometimes, which is like liposomal GABA, L-theanine. I really love SAMe, adenylyl cobalamin, or hydroxycobalamin folinic acid for people who have very sensitive genes like the slow comp T, which makes them a little more pinged than other people. And then I would tell you, you multitask so much every day like the rest of us. You don't have a choice. So when you do have that break, instead of dissociating and scrolling on your phone,
Guilty.
which, right, all of us, why don't we sit and get into our body and just focus on breathing? It doesn't have to be very long, 15, 20 minutes, but that is so much more productive than like holding your breath and just dissociating on the phone while you're in a doom scroll.
Yeah.
And again, I've learned from my own personal experience, because I've also been in flight or fight and very traumatized. And the phone was almost like an escape from my life for a while.
You know what's so funny is that also why, like I was telling you, I was like, Jess, I'm feeling like inflamed in my lower abdominal and I don't know what's going on. It's kind of like expanded. And I'm like, I wish I was pregnant, but I'm not right now. So it just feels like there's a bump there. And I'm like, can I just get rid of it before the summer?
Yeah.
Could that be a reason?
For sure. I had that too. And what it was I was not breathing properly. And when you don't breathe properly, your bones and your structure start to change. In fact, one of my friends has actually fixed acquired scoliosis. It's a breath problem, not breathing into the posterior mediastinum. And so for me, I had asymmetry in my face from not breathing properly. My sphenoid bone was torqued, the butterfly-shaped bone behind my eyes. And so really even a pelvic bowl can move if you're not breathing properly and you're not standing properly, your posture isn't good. And then when that happens, you really are looking at a pooch here because you're not breathing down into that area. You're not exhaling properly. That was my root cause. The other thing is if you constantly are hyperinflated and not exhaling properly, your lungs will start to protrude out. You have a rib cage flare, and this affects how the pelvic bowl sits.
And so what is breathing properly entail? So can we walk through what that breath looks like or what it should look like?
Absolutely. So some people hold their breath before they exhale. Some people hold their breath before they inhale. Some people don't exhale fully. They constantly have a little bit of air hyperinflated in their lungs, which is who I was. It's kind of a defense mechanism. You're on your toes, you're hyperinflated in your lungs, and that is a protection mechanism. When you exhale, you sink into your heels. You fully exhale from the rib cage down all the way into the lower abdomen. And so it's a breath problem I see for most people. But it's hard for me to describe without fully showing someone right in front of me. It's very hard because people start to neglect certain parts of their body if they're not breathing into them. It's almost like a lack of awareness in the body.
If you're serious about your long-term health, there's one vitamin you're probably not getting enough of, no matter how clean your diet is. Nearly 97% of people in the Western world are deficient in vitamin K2, and most don't even realize it. That's why K2 is nearly non-existent in modern diets, but it plays a huge role in heart health, circulation, bone strength, and even brain function. So here's why it matters so much. Low K2 levels can show up as weak bones, stiff muscle, bruising, wrinkles, and even forgetfulness and brain fog. It also is linked to major cardiovascular and bone health issues down the line. That's why I'm so excited about Just Thrive's K27, the only K2 supplement on the market that comes from 100% organic chickpea natto, the best source of K2. Delivers 320 mcg of pharmaceutical grade K27, the optimal daily dose, has guaranteed potency so your body actually absorbs what it needs. It's microbiologist formulated, clinically tested, and supports your heart, bones, brain, and circulation at the source. I've made it a part of my daily routine, and I think you'll love it too. Check it out at justthrivehealth.com and use code Biohack-it for a discount and enjoy. What do you think is one test doctors are just not running, and it frustrates you so much when you take a look at someone's labs and you're like, why the hell are they not checking you for X?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say a full thyroid panel. This is kind of a cliche answer, but it's really true. Like these medical doctors, myself included in my schooling, were taught not to, you just need a thyroid stimulating hormone. And if that's wrong, then you check the whole rest of the thyroid panel. And
you're the second person on my podcast to say this in 2 weeks.
I'm serious.
I had this incredible other doctor on, and she's like, do you know how frustrating it is, the amount of people who are not given, she was talking about it from a fertility lens, but she's like, they're not given a full thyroid panel. And then they're just going to put them on something for a hyper or low thyroid, and they're not going to bother checking anything else. And it's deeply frustrating. But they're not taught to do so. They're not incentivized to do so.
And, I've definitely seen the TSH be normal and the thyroid hormones not be normal. How am I supposed to know if, let's say there's something wrong in the thyroid panel? They never check thyroid antibodies. They never check a thyroid globulin antibody, a TPO, thyroid peroxidase antibody. They don't check them. So the way I treat an autoimmune thyroid condition is different than the way I treat just regular hypothyroidism. And so I need to know is the body seeing something, or it doesn't attack itself, it's attacking something there that's wrong. Is that happening, or is this due to stress that's pulling the thyroid out?
Right. And that's where the root cause medicine piece comes in and is so important, because somebody needs to be looking at all these different things before they run to a prescription drug for you, essentially, and just want to put you in some form of medication.
Right. And, they tell people, I'll give you 3 months for lifestyle changes, but then they don't help the person understand what those lifestyle changes are. Calm down, eat better, drink more water. These are not really helpful suggestions.
No, unless you walk them through when you're drinking more water. What kind of water? Is it with electrolytes? How is your body and your cells actually absorbing the water?
No medical doctors are taught about that. I'm sorry. If you're a medical doctor listening and this resonates with you, I implore you to please do research outside of what you've been taught in school. That's what it took for me. It took me being curious, and believing my patients.
And really like treating them and then seeing the results. And you're like, look, I'm being able to heal people by looking at it from a different lens.
Do you know how fulfilling and satisfying it is to actually help people like we were taught to do, to actually get people better or to make them feel just slightly bit better? It's so rewarding. It's like Christmas. And I just want the other medical doctors out there to hear that it is possible to reverse disease. It is possible to do that without a pill for the rest of your life. And it's so satisfying when you went into this as a career with the right heart to see that is possible.
Is there a particular case or a patient that you worked on that completely like reminded you again of why you're doing this and why you come from this place of purpose? You know, sometimes there are those moments that happen in your life and you're like, this is why I'm here and this is why I'm in this and this is my purpose and this is why. You know, they just remind you of that. Is there somebody who like you treated and it was like that for you?
Yeah, for sure. I have one early on in my career that I'll never forget, and I have a few that are recent. But the early one was someone who came to me when I was still in California practicing at a naturopathic clinic. And she came to me, her hormones were all messed up. Her cycles, she felt crazy. She couldn't ground herself, and her cycles were irregular all over the place and painful. And one of the most beautiful things about herbs is if you get the recipe right, they really fix hormones like that. And so I was lucky enough to guess it right the first time, and I never saw her again. And I didn't know. And then she came back because she brought her daughter in to see another physician there. And I said, where have you been? And she said, I'm better. You fixed me. I didn't need to come back. It's that amazing. Don't come back to see me. That makes my day.
And what herbs did you put her on?
She had an estrogen dominance. So it was things like DIM to shuffle the correct estrogen down the correct pathway. It was things like Dong Quai, a little bit of chasteberry tree, which potentiates progesterone, and some adaptogenic herbs to help calm down her system at the same time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then more recently, have you had another like aha moment where you're like, you know, this is why I do this. This is why I'm so freaking passionate about this.
For sure. You know, a lot of people I don't even know that I help. They're strangers online that then message me just from information because education is so powerful. Yeah. But a lot of these people have been people who lived in water damaged homes and had really hard labels, autoimmune conditions, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. A couple of them I'm thinking right off the top of my head had labels like this, and it was their house the whole time. And so once you get through the worst part of your job, which is telling someone it's their comfortable, safe home that's actually making them sick, and they have to, spend thousands of dollars on remediation or move. Once we got past that, and she remediated, and everything was better, she really reversed, I think, all but one of her autoimmune conditions.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And for the one autoimmune condition that she has left, what are you treating her with that? Like, how are you treating her?
Right. This is a stubborn one because I think there's a lot of them autoimmune conditions, especially with women in the thyroid, have a lot of emotional components to them. Yeah. And there is some trauma that is wrapped up in there, whether childhood or adult continued trauma is. And so sometimes I have to unravel, are you using your voice to speak your truth? Are you walking on eggshells because if you're in a toxic relationship that you feel like you can't be yourself in, that thyroid is the first thing to suffer. Mm-hmm. And, then I'm also making sure she has enough mineralization to make thyroid hormones. Yeah. You need things like zinc and copper and protein and magnesium and iodine and selenium to really support the thyroid properly. Mm-hmm. It's a very little cantankerous organ, if you will. And our gland, I should say. And so really for her, I'm working on emotional support, nervous system regulation, mineralization, and really changing some of the trauma and belief patterns that came from that.
You know, this work is so powerful. So our common friend now, I got her from you and Jess Berman, Kelly Kennedy talks about a lot of this stuff.
Oh, yes.
And when I went to see Kelly for the first time, I just saw her, when was it, like Feb or March? Jess, I cried like a baby. I didn't think it was possible for me to cry in this way. I didn't think it was in me.
I'm telling you, Kelly Kennedy, if you're watching this, Kelly, I always say she's an exorcist. She's an exorcist.
I have not
she's a real life
cried like
exorcist.
this ever. I was on her table bawling hysterically. I'm like, where the hell is this coming from?
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, Kelly Kennedy is a wonderful friend of both of ours. She's one of my best friends. And she runs a clinic in Pennsylvania that really focuses on lymph drainage, on biological medicine from Germany and Switzerland, on really treating the patient and looking at their blood and treating the whole person and their heart. She focuses on mind-heart coherence and really cracking you open so whatever trauma is there can come up and out. She gets me every time. I never want to cry. She gets me every time.
she's just incredible. And so I remember when I went to her, she clocked certain things about me. She doesn't know me from Adams. She just knows me through you and the other Jess. And Jess was like, you have to go see her. You have to go see her. And I'm so glad I did. And since then, I've been able to get a little bit more grounded in my heart personally, being able to like reflect a little bit more on things and stuff, because she brought it into my realm of consciousness and awareness. And I think when I had that release on that table, my lymph started moving, my nervous system calmed down a little bit. And she said to me, check yourself in a couple of months. If you can continue to maintain this pattern of calm, but if you can't, then you come back. But I love that without that awareness, I would not have known.
No, that's the thing. It's really easy to see other people and it's really hard to see yourself. And I couldn't see myself either when I was in flight or fight. And all my friends could.
Yeah, because you can't.
I couldn't.
Like, look, what are some of the things you are personally doing for you? Because you are doing, touch wood, you're just thriving right now. So I want to know some of the tools that you've started using for yourself that you think are extremely beneficial. You did the vitamin B, you're doing vitamin D, you're obviously doing the minerals. And then what else are you doing to help regulate your nervous system?
I'm taking time each day just for myself, for some self-care. I am not really... used to be much more of an open person, but I've had to have a lot more discernment in my life as I got older. I hate that. I would love to think that everyone in the world is innocent and sweet and good, but you can't. You have to be wise. And so I really am taking time for discernment of people and not letting in people that don't make me feel good,
right?
That don't support me all the time, and cutting out people that do the opposite.
Right.
I also really take time in nature. And most of the time, I walk like 12 to 15,000 steps a day.
Really?
I haven't been since I've been traveling the last couple of days, but yes, because nature calms me. And if someone's depressed or anxious, if you can put them in a woods on a camping trip for a week or two, they won't be that way anymore. Right. And so it's really simple: sunshine, walks, good food, clean water, filtered, structured, clean water, good energy, a good community. You need a community heal. And I had to work my own personal recipe. I'm sure it's different for everyone. After everything happened to me, I didn't feel safe in the world and with people. And the problem is people are the issue that caused the trauma. People are the issue that fix the trauma as well. And so I really had to kind of get myself back on board about, do I feel safe in my body and my environment? If I don't, how can I find people that help me achieve that? And that's a lot of discernment. Yeah. And that's what I was missing.
Filtering your water, filtering your food, filtering the people in your life. It all goes hand in hand. Another thing I want to talk to you about is, like, everyone's always asking me, especially even the young girls at the agency, they're like, what do we do about our water? So now, Mountain Valley is amazing, but it gets really expensive. We own our own home, so we have a Culligan in our house, and then I remineralize it. What do you recommend for people that what's your favorite water system? Yeah. And what do you recommend for people who either own their own home? If it's not a Culligan, what is it? And if they don't, what's a cheap and dirty way, but still really effective without breaking the bank?
So I have a couple favorites here. For something that's a little more affordable, I just have like an AquaTrue that's a reverse osmosis filter that sits on my countertop. I add minerals back to it.
How much is something like that?
It's like a little $300 to $400.
Oh, amazing. AquaTrue. Okay.
AquaTrue, yeah.
And you can get it from where? Amazon or online on their website?
You can get it online on their website, for sure. And then you'd replace the filter every 6 months or so. My very favorite thing in the entire world that's a little bit more pricey is something called a spring aqua. It's an ecosystem in a box, they call it. And so it filters, it structures, and it adds dissolved hydrogen back to the water, which pushes radiation like uranium out of the water, radon, things like that.
People aren't talking about this enough, but I truly want to optimize your health. We need to be paying attention to EMFs. We are constantly plugged in, surrounded by wireless signals, radiation, frequencies that our bodies have never, ever been able to handle at this level. Research has shown that EMFs can disrupt sleep, impact cellular function, and contribute to long-term health issues. Yet we're rarely talking about this or how to protect ourselves from this. This is why I was so excited when I first discovered Lila Quantum Tech. I met them 2 years ago at a biohacking conference in Austin and was absolutely blown away by the founder, Philip Mon. Hearing him on stage and learning about quantum energy technology completely shifted my perspective. I knew I had to try it for myself. And now, 2 years later, I'm so excited to have them partner with me on my podcast. One of my absolute favorite products, the Heal 360 capsule, which I wear on my quantum necklace every day. This isn't just any pendant. It's scientifically designed and quantumly charged to support your body's natural ability to heal, energize, and protect itself from harmful influences. People using it have reported more energy, mental clarity, better stress resilience, and relaxation, deeper sleep, and faster recovery. And that is also the feedback I got from our supper club when I gifted it to all our guests. Lila Quantum Tech is leading the way in quantum frequency healing with products designed to neutralize EMFs, enhance cellular function, and help your body operate at its best. I personally felt the difference since wearing Heal 360 capsule, and I think you'll love it too. Check it out at lilaq.com and use code Biohack-it for a discount. That is LEELAQ.com and use code Biohack-it. Happy healing. I have Lila Quantum in my house. I need to start using it even more, but I think that device is amazing, like to just like restructure your water. Can we also explain to people why it's so important to structure water and structure your food?
Yes. So water obviously is H2O, one molecule of oxygen, two of hydrogen. And the hydrogens have a plus charge. The oxygen has a -2 charge. So these two are going to attract and separate things in the water. And if you have heavy metals, which look like minerals to the body, in the water, they can actually get in and change the structure of the water molecules that then, because the H2O clumps together and they form structures when they clump together. And they form the fourth phase of water, which is a gel-like phase within the body. But if you have metals or toxins in there, they can actually interrupt the structuring of those water molecules. So then it can't enter the cell properly to actually hydrate you, which is intracellularly. It's really important.
And I think that we don't pay enough attention definitely to the water we're having and what we're drinking. And guys, if you're thinking about electrolytes, please make sure they're not fancy flavors or have added sugars in them. There's a bunch of brands that are absolutely shit and garbage on the market. Please make sure you're drinking really clean electrolytes. I love the Body Bio electrolytes because they're clean. There's nothing in them it's no added sugars, no favors, but there's so much garbage on the market right now.
There is garbage.
Because they essentially, what a lot of these brands do is they find like gut health or electrolytes, and they just like build these mass market brands out of it, get through greenwashing labels, and just go out to the mass consumer. And a lot of times they get like either private equity money or whatever it is, so they can just market. And most people are not educated to really do their research about this stuff.
No, it's a lot. It's really another full-time job to be able to read labels properly with all the different code words that they've changed to sugar and everything else.
Yeah, and it's constant greenwashing, and you have to really be discerning when you're purchasing products in the market nowadays.
It's sad but true. Yes, it's not just water, it's everything.
I thought this stat was really cool. So the Kaiser Family Foundation found that 66% of women feel dismissed by doctors. I was like, is it because, I thought it was cool because I thought it was so freaking interesting in a shocking way that 66% of women, that's so high. And is it because women don't advocate for themselves as well as men do, and men they'll feel more nervous to bullshit a man than a woman? Like, what is it?
I think that's part of it. I also think women present differently than men. For example, amongst doctors, that all doctors who listen to this would know, is that women present differently with heart attacks. We often don't have the shooting pain down the left arm. We often are told it's an anxiety attack. Or it's your hormones, things like that. They present differently. And a lot of the studies are only done on, 175, 200 pound male, not women, including fasting studies.
Right.
So, for instance, I think that also men, I don't want to put them all in a box, but some of them don't understand women's hormones and how complicated they are and how they change much earlier than just 50 when we're in menopause. Around perimenopause can last up to 15 years before people are given help or diagnosed. And so without that proper education, the doctors don't know what to do. They literally hand out SSRIs like candy, say you must be anxious, you must be depressed. And they don't really listen or test for women like they need to, unfortunately. And I really think it's because most of the studies are done on men, and most of the doctors, if they are male, they don't understand women's hormones.
And you brought up fasting. So can we walk through a little bit of fasting? So I was intermittent fasting back in the day before I found out that my fasting glucose is like no bueno and I cannot be fasting. So I stopped. I try to eat dinner a little bit early, and that's kind of all I do. But can you walk me through kind of like what fasting for a woman should be like? Is it good for people to do or not do?
So yes. First of all, you guys heard me say that they only have done studies on men.
Yeah.
And
That's
true.
why.
That's true. They don't know how it affects a woman's body. And our circadian rhythm, our cycles, our hormonal cycles fluctuate throughout the day. It's very different than a man's. And so I tell women, be careful with fasting, just like you would with a cold plunge. These biohacks are great, I'll tell you, but cold plunge is my least favorite though. Ugh,
Yeah.
I hate it, but I'll do it. But
How often do you do it?
Not very often because I really hate it.
Yeah.
If it's right in front of me, I'll do it. But it's and I have
Next
to,
time you come stay with me, I'm getting a cold plunge on my balcony.
I have to be careful because I literally, if there's steps, I'll walk in and just turn around, walk back out when it gets up to my stomach. I have to count from 5 backwards and jump in. That's the only way I'll do it. So, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Cold plunging and fasting for women, I don't think it's been studied well. And if the sample size that I'm seeing in clinic can be extrapolated to the full population, most of the women I see probably should not be fasting all the time or cold plunging all the time because they are so dysregulated, and most of them do not feel safe in their body and their environment. And these things are great, but they're stressors to the body. Stressors are great. They give the body resilience. They let it reset. Oftentimes, if it's confused, it's a reset for the body. But if you're already in flight or fight and we're adding an extra stressor on top of the body.
That's it. Your body's going to start spiraling.
Yeah, it's the small. Some people can't handle small stressors. They're not even balanced enough for that. We have to take every person individually. Everyone is not the same, and they should be taken into consideration as such. So I don't always advocate for women to do cold plunges and extended fasting all the time unless they feel safe in their mind, body, and environment, and their labs look balanced.
What is a maximum time for a fast that a woman should do?
Again, I think that's a really individual based on the woman. I see some women that can knock it out of the park, like a water fast for like 3 to 5 days. And I'm like, how? I would be
I can't do
a
that.
sobbing mess.
Yeah.
I would be crying.
I can't do that.
So at least we know ourselves.
Yeah. I can't do that. So because I'm trying to get pregnant and stuff, this is a big thing that I stopped cold plunging a little while ago. My husband's really into it again. He can do it. Faison can totally do it. He can manage it. He's a guy. Cycle is totally different, very regulated. But with me, because I'm trying to get pregnant, one of the big things they teach you when it comes to Chinese medicine and stuff is to keep the womb warm.
Exactly.
More blood circulation.
Exactly.
Warm foods. I wear socks at night when I sleep now, compression socks, because you're supposed to keep yourself warm. And that womb, when you keep it warm, it helps create that environment of blood, bringing more blood flow. If you bring in more blood flow, better environment to conceive.
You're exactly right. I mean, think about ladies, if you've had PMS before or bad cramps, think about how much a hot water bottle, a warm castor oil pack, a hot bath, sitting in a hot bath helps your cramps.
Yeah.
It's because you have a cold uterus and the blood is not flowing. It's stagnant. And stagnation breeds disease.
What is your favorite castor oil brand and how do you use castor oil? We should actually get some for the retreat.
Yeah, we
Remind
should.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can hook that
Yeah,
up.
we definitely need to get
ask
some.
Marisol.
Yeah.
So she runs Queen of the Thrones, and they are my favorite castor oil company. She is one of the most dynamic, educated, and lovely people I've met. She is just wonderful. And she's a naturopathic doctor. And we have we're very like-minded, but she went above and beyond with her castor oil. She's very educated on it.
Okay.
I think her testing comes out better than anyone else's. I love it to help move the bile, to help increase natural killer cells, to just move the stagnation out of the way. And there's a lot of studies on how it's antiviral and can really help with constipation and pain. Yeah.
And are you a fan of, for example, I have her castor oil, but I sometimes get lazy. I don't put it on a patch. I put it straight onto my body.
That's great.
Is that fine?
That's totally fine.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll do that and just get in the sauna.
Yeah. I just literally put it on and then I get into bed and then I have this red light device that's really intense and I put it sometimes on my stomach and that's how I go to sleep.
I love that actually.
Right? Is it so it's okay to not use necessarily the little
but
thing that you
I
tie
have a
on.
question though. Isn't it messy? Do you get in on your bed?
No, because I sleep like
Oh my God,
Jess,
you're
I
so
sleep like
good.
a zombie. I sleep like Faison's always laughing at me, but I literally have this bolster I put under my legs. I wear my compression socks up to here. I'm like a crazy person. And I sleep like this and I do not want to be touched. I don't want you to hold my hand. I want no contact. I just want to be left alone.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I sleep.
I wish that I could sleep on my back like that.
No.
Cannot.
I've trained myself. I've literally trained myself. So when I broke my nose 3 years ago, I was a bit of a side sleeper or a face sleeper.
Same.
And stomach sleeper. And then I had to get my nose fixed And then I got so paranoid because, it's a pretty big surgery. Like, I don't think like a rhinoplasty is a small surgery. And I was so inflamed and bruised. I was just like, I'm just going to start. So I forced myself and trained myself to start sleeping on my back like this.
Well, I just had that laser on my face, and I had to also sleep on back, kind of sleep sitting up in a recliner.
Yeah.
Position. And you think I would have trained myself, but I'm back to sleeping on my side and my stomach because I, for some reason, don't feel safe. Isn't that weird?
So different sleeping positions tell us about our safety and all, even in dogs, by the way. So my dogs who I've rescued, one of them I rescued as a puppy, Fina, who you slept with last night, she just sleeps like this. She doesn't give zero shits about anything. So she's telling you that she's open. She doesn't have any trust issues. She's fine. My other dogs that I rescued who have had trauma and were abused sleep almost curled up because they don't like to be open. They don't want to be receptive. So it tells us that that's our body communicating, saying how much I trust the world, and that at night when I'm sleeping, am I going to get attacked? Is something going to happen? Because that's your subconscious.
I'm clearly ready for battle.
Yeah. Wait, describe how you sleep.
It's like on my stomach with one of my legs up like this. Like the worst thing ever. My face is like this, like my poor neck. It's so bad. I already know. And it's not good for your skin either.
No.
It's not good for my skin.
Yeah, because you're pressing against it. Yeah.
I've gotten the sleep pillowcases and the Save Your Eyelashes pillow, and it doesn't matter because I sleep like an idiot. So it doesn't matter.
If you know me, you know I avoid seed oils like the plague. They're everywhere, even in snacks labeled as clean, organic, or healthy. But the truth is, they wreak havoc on your metabolism, your hormones, and make you super inflamed. That's why I'm obsessed with Prima, one of the few products I completely trust. Prima was created to push back against processed artificial foods and bring us back to real, nutritional, ancestral ingredients that actually nourish your body. It's packed with 100% grass-fed beef tallow, grass-fed collagen, and grass-fed whey protein, delivering bioavailable nutrients for muscle recovery, joint health, and overall vitality without any of the junk. No seed oils, no refined sugars, no artificial additives, and the best part, it's one of the few products that is certified seed oil safe. I always keep Prima stocked in my bag. It's my go-to post-workout, between meetings, or anytime I need an easy, high-quality protein boost. Getting in at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight can be really tough, but it's essential for building and maintaining muscle as you age or going through a fertility journey in your 40s and 30s like I am. And the flavor is delicious. Cacao, mocha, and salted caramel. You really can't go wrong. My favorite flavor is the salted caramel, plus the Prima bars are sweetened with organic raw honey and only contain organic whole food ingredients. So you're fueling your body with real clean nutrition. Because you're part of the Biohack-it community, you get 20% off. Just use code IMAN20 at eatprima.com. Ditch the seed oils, fuel your body right. You will feel the difference, I promise.
We should tell them about my face,
Yes,
too.
can we please talk about you? Because you look amazing.
Thank
I
you.
do, before I get into the detox, I want to talk about this incredible procedure that you had done, and you look phenomenal.
Thank you. I want to tell everyone here, this is the first time I'm talking about this, and I haven't talked about it just because people online are mean, but I'm going to preface this as saying, I am a doctor, but I'm also human, and I don't know everything. And I'm learning just like everyone else, because everyone pretends like we all know what we're doing, but none of us know what we're doing, including me. So 8 years ago, I had a very good friend in medical school convince me to get under eye filler under my eyes. And
That happened to me 10 years ago, and it fucked me up.
Because at the time it was presented as, this is hyaluronic acid. It's natural.
No, it's not.
Breaks down on its own.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, all of this is false. But
Lies.
at the time I believed it because they were being fed this. And it actually bruised me when it happened. And I thought, oh, this is not a good omen.
Yeah.
But over the years, it happened so slowly, you didn't realize what the cause of it was. So for the last few years, I've had what looks like scar tissue under my eyes. And when I got the CO2 laser done on my face, it created the Tinsdale effect, which is blue coloring underneath the eyes from the filler. I blamed the CO2 laser, but it was actually the filler that I had forgotten about because it was 8 years old and it should have dissolved already, right? That's not what happened, actually. Now everybody knows you have to go get hyaluronidase to dissolve it.
And even then, it doesn't take away everything.
It doesn't take away everything. What happens is the filler, actually the hyaluronic acid layers in the different fascial layers under the skin, and it actually starts to clog up your lymphatic channels right here. And it looks like scar tissue where it's laying unevenly under the fascial and lymph layers. And so I actually went and had a double pulsed Yarrow laser as well as a lower BLAF done to clean all of that out because it wouldn't come out with hyaluronidase. And he said he's seen 20-year-old filler that's still there in people's face. I was shocked. And so I'm using myself as an example because I don't know everything. I learned a lot from this experience, and I had to pay a lot of money to fix what had been done to me. And now I look like my old self again. But I just want to warn all the ladies out there, if you're thinking about filler, please don't.
No.
Please don't. It's not what we've been told it is. It's not safe.
No.
And it ruins my skin.
So it's crazy that you say that. So when I got my nose fixed, I got such terrible bruising. I look like if I show you pictures of myself, I look like a raccoon. My husband came to pick me up. He's like, what the fuck happened to you? Like, I looked busted, like completely like somebody beat me up. I had so much swelling. My eyes were black and blue, and it was because of all the old filler I had under my eyes from like 10, 11 years ago that completely messed up my lymphatic system because it blocks your lymphatic drainage pathways. So when you get something like a nose job done and there's all this swelling and the blood needs to go anywhere, it can't move because this is all blocked.
Oh my gosh.
So I would wake up every single morning and have to drain this portion, even though I hadn't gone filler done for years. And so, and bless my husband, he's a saint because I'm glad he did not faint. It was awful. But I also want to get into this thing of like, why is women, and I've heard this from a bunch of my friends who are in this, like us, like more into this like crunchy mom wellness community. Why are people online such assholes that they can tell you what you should and should not do with your face if it makes you feel good and look good? As long as you're not harming anybody else and you're saying, hey, this is my parameters, you do what you want, right? I think it's our choice as women how we age and how we decide we want to look while we're aging, right?
For sure, it's our
prerogative.
own opinion. And I think people get very dogmatic and myopic in their views about what is holistic and what isn't, and what's appropriate and what isn't for the population or collective as a whole that's holistic. And I really think I've had to learn this on my own to stay in my own lane.
Yeah.
Don't give advice unless people ask.
And it's not your business. So for example, I have a lot of close friends. They do not do Botox at all. I do Botox once a year.
Once a year. Wow.
Once a year. I'm doing it once a year. I know there's side effects to Botox. I know it's not that clean. But I'm clean in so many other 90% of my things. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just like, I'm not there. I'm not there to give it up.
Yeah.
Maybe I change my mind further down the line, but I'm just not there right now.
Well, and that's okay. I appreciate your honesty. And I'm sure a lot of other people listening feel the same way. They're like, oh, I feel validated because I'm in the same boat as you. You know what I mean? For me, I learned my lesson with filler.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do injectables anymore. So this
Which is
laser,
great. Yeah.
which I paid a lot for the procedure, it was my way of not doing that, I guess. And there are a lot of people that say, oh, you had a lower bluff, you had this laser. That's not right either. But it was
Why is it not right?
I would rather do that and fix what had happened to me, you know? And so that's why I'm telling people, because I don't want what happened to me to happen to anyone else.
To anybody else.
And I'm human. I don't know everything.
And even just the fact of being human, we are allowed to decide and choose how we age. And if you have a problem with what I choose to do with my body, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. And by the way, I'm the first one online. You come at me, I'll come straight back at you. And I'm going to be like, I will shut that shit down because I don't bully people and I will not tolerate bullying. Like I have a very no nonsense rule about this.
I love that.
Like people have said that. I'm like, how dare you? Like, how dare you? I'm not asking for your opinion.
Right.
And I think this is what happens to society. We think we can sit behind our phones and be these keyboard warriors and bully and troll people, which is just such a low vibration energy, and give them demand from them what we want. And it's like, no, you don't have access to me. This is a boundary. I've set a boundary. I share what I want. I shall do as I please. If you want to accept it, great. If you don't accept it, unfollow me and keep on moving on.
That's right. You really can see something you disagree with and you can keep going. It is possible in the human experience.
And that's okay. You don't need to follow everybody for every single piece and agree with them 100% on everything.
Right. And that's the thing about social media. It's so dogmatic that if you say one thing people disagree with, they say, I'm unfollowing you.
Right.
They
you
forget
don't need
all
to
the
announce it.
Yeah,
it's okay. Just unfollow and move the hell on.
They forget all the other good things you've provided to them and the other information you've helped them with just when one thing is wrong. So
I have no space in my life for
your
this sort of
nervous
bullshit.
system regulated.
One other thing I want to talk about is the detox and cleanse market is now expected to hit $70 billion by the next few years. Can you imagine that? $70 billion.
It's wild.
And yet most of the products do not treat root cause and root pathways and how to really detox. So what is the difference between true detoxing and just like expensive pee?
Right, exactly. You know, you'll see things like a juice cleanse or these skinny teas
that
or
shit.
whatnot. Right. And it's just not a detox. A detox is something where you actually prepare the body beforehand. It's not something you just jump right into and it magically happens. And it also shouldn't just be a detox. It should be that you're incorporating other aspects of your life and changing other aspects too. I'm talking belief patterns, you know, what you do with most of your day on a 9 to 5, what you eat, what you drink, what you think. And so all that has to be included too. But in general, with a detox, you want to make sure that you're opening drainage. That means, you know, besides the nervous system being a little bit more balanced, that means you're pooping 2 to 3 times per day. Your liver and
2 to 3 times. Most people don't even poop once a day.
Some people are like, I'm lucky if I go every 2 to 3 days. And I'm like,
No.
like
2 to 3 days?
and I'm like, how are you not exhausted? Because
How are you not super bloated?
They are. All of them are bloated. All of them with just water. And it's just like, you know, the reason you poop is to expel toxins. So if you're not expelling toxins, your brain is really, no wonder it's brain foggy. No wonder you're fatigued. That makes sense. So all of this, I really try and regulate this for people beforehand, like sweating a little bit better, sleeping a little bit better. Hormones are a little more regulated, right? And then once you're more balanced and you're balanced in your mind and your body, then you can go into a detox, which is something like maybe some killing herbs. I try and do everything holistically. Maybe some binders if you're remineralized properly. Maybe we look at, you know, doing castor oil packs or sweating afterwards or, you know, something to release what we've just killed and bound up.
Okay. And people, like, where can they find a little bit more about you and learning about, because you're starting to coach again, which I'm really excited about. You weren't coaching for a while. And so for anybody listening is like, I want to sign up with Dr. Jess. How can they sign up on your programs?
Absolutely. So it's drjess.health. And there are 5 versus 8 month packages. And you see one of my experts from my team the first 30 to 40 minutes just to make sure we're a great fit for each other before you sign up for a package.
Of course.
Yeah. And they're great. And I love it. And I'm back to seeing all the things I used to see in clinic. And I missed everyone so much. And I missed using my brain that way so much.
Yeah.
And so I'm really having a good time. And I attract some of the sickest of the sick. You know, I really do. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge to balance everyone and make sure everyone's taken care of and they feel safe. And, you know, I'm also part therapist too.
Yeah. I think it's such a gift that you have. And I think it's a gift to be able to help heal people. What else can be more rewarding in life? Because when you don't have your physical health, you have nothing, right? Your spiritual health suffers, your emotional health suffers. I think it's such a gift that you possess, the ability to heal people in a meaningful way, to really help them get back in touch with their bodies. And above all, making them feel like they have autonomy over their bodies, you know? Because most people go through life with one doctor or another being like, do this, do this, do this, to teach people how to take care of themselves, to regulate themselves, to detox correctly. How to really feel good is truly an art. So thank you for all that you do, Jess.
Thank you so much. And let me just say, you know, I get intuitive hits. I definitely listen to God, Creator, during my consults with people. And it's really about, I'm not healing them. Their body is healing them. I'm just able to see roadblocks and obstacles that stand in their way of being the ultimate human. So
you're an ultimate human. And I just love you and I love our friendship.
Same.
And I'm so grateful and I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you for owning your journey and your narrative. And I know it hasn't been easy and coming out on the other side. So you're killing it. I love you.
Oh, I love you back. That's so sweet. Thank you, Iman.
Thank you for tuning in to Biohack-it. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a short review. It really helps us reach more listeners just like you. Follow us on Instagram at biohack-it for exclusive content and the latest updates. Remember, your health is in your hand and curiosity heals.